there's a new open letter out that is urging a halt to the race towards superintelligence, which is the kind of AI that could surpass humans at virtually all useful tasks. So this is a letter coordinated by the Future of Life Institute. And this statement is notable because it has more than 700 signatories, which include 5 Nobel laureates, AI Godfathers Yoshua, Bengio, and Geoffrey Hinton, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, Richard Branson, Stuart Russell, big AI guy, Steve Bannon. There's some weird political and cultural and religious figures on here as well. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And basically the message is super blunt, super short. It's a very simple letter that says, we call for a prohibition on the development of superintelligence, not lifted before there is broad scientific consensus that it will be done safely and controllably and strong public buy-in. So the organizers of this say that basically time is running out and this tech could arrive within a couple years, which is why they're doing this now. Interesting, they released some polling they did alongside the letter that finds apparently 64% of Americans favor waiting until superintelligence is provably safe and controllable, and just 5% want rapid, unregulated development. So we'll talk about that in a sec, but that seems interesting to me. But I guess my question for you, Paul, is like, why this? Why now? Like, they did a previous letter. They were behind that 6-month pause letter we covered a while ago. That obviously didn't really do anything. Is this just like for awareness? Do they actually hope a ban could happen?
I do think it's primarily for awareness and to get societal support, maybe for more push towards regulation. So the Future of Life Institute, if people aren't familiar, the mission is to steer transformative technologies away from extreme large-scale risks and towards benefiting life. Max Tegmark, who you mentioned, is the president. He's also the author of Life 3.0, Being Human in the Age of AI, which I think you and I have both read.
Great, yeah.
Mike,
Good book.
And then Our Mathematical Universe, which I actually need to add to my list. I've been like, that's been like a thing I've been very fascinated by lately, is like the fundamental nature of mathematics and time and stuff. Totally unrelated. So they're big on AI, AI safety research fits right into their mission. So I looked this morning, Mike, and I think it was up to 47,000 signatures, if I read it correctly. So yeah, a lot of people are signing this. When they released it, Max Tegmark tweeted, "A stunningly broad coalition has come out against Skynet." I thought that was really interesting wording. AI researchers, faith leaders, business pioneers, policymakers, national security folks, and actors stand together. From Bannon and Beck to Hinton, Wozniak, and Prince Harry, we stand together because we want a human future. Hashtag keep the future human. The statement you read, Mike, as it was just 2 quick points. The context, because again, the web page itself, which ironically, like my home browser was blocking me from going to it because it said the site wasn't secure, and I was like, "Oh no, it's not working."
That's ironic.
But then I went to my my cell plan, and it took me to it. So if you do get blocked, that's why. If when you go there, there's nothing there. So anyway, the statement said, context: innovative AI tools may bring unprecedented health and prosperity. However, alongside tools, many leading AI companies have the stated goal of building superintelligence in the coming decade that can significantly outperform all humans on essentially all cognitive tasks. This has raised concerns ranging from human economic obsolescence and disempowerment, losses of freedom, civil liberties, dignity, and control, to national security risks and even potential human extinction. The succinct statement below aims to create common knowledge of the growing number of experts and public people who feel the same way, basically. So as you mentioned, they define superintelligence as a system that can surpass human performance on all useful tasks. There was a separate thing, Mike, that I think makes sense to get into, is like this definition of AGI paper. But first, I want to talk about the counterpoint to the statement. So the one I read and that I saw a whole bunch of people referring to, including Max Tegmark, is from Dean Ball. So he's a senior fellow at, what is this, Foundation for American Innovation. But he's obviously someone other people listen to, because a lot of people were kind of commenting on this. So here is Dean's point of view, and then I will offer my contextual opinion here, I guess. So he, in reply to Max Tegmark's post, said, vague statements like this, which fundamentally cannot be operationalized in policy, but feel nice to sign, are counterproductive and silly. just as they were 2 or so years ago when we went through another cycle of nebulous AI statement signing. Let's set aside the total lack of definition of superintelligence. Give them some credit, they did put a definition. I'll even grant the statement drafters that we all arrive on a mutually agreeable definition. Then assume we write that definition into a law which says no superintelligence until proven safe. So he's basically saying, if we agree on this definition of superintelligence, let's assume we do, then we move forward and say, okay, we can't have it until it's proven safe. So Dean then continues, how do we enforce this law? How do you prove superintelligence will be safe without building it? How do you prove a plane is flight worthy without flying it? You can't. So the logic would go, we will need a sanctioned venue and institution for superintelligence development where we will experiment with the technology until it's quote unquote proven safe. Then says, who decides this, by the way, and what happens after it is proven safe? Question mark. This institution would need to be funded somehow by all governments with similar prohibitions, which the statement drafters, though probably not all signatories, would likely argue needs to include every country on Earth, including U.S. adversaries. A global governance body whose purpose is to build the thing the statement drafters have told us is so dangerous, partially because of the power it could confer on those who control it. A consortium of governments which, if successful, would exercise unilateral control over how to wield this technology and against whom to wield it. The same people who uniquely possess militaries, police, and a monopoly on legitimate violence. The same people who possess, in other words, and in the final analysis, the right to kill you or confiscate your property if you do not listen to them, newly empowered with the most powerful technology ever conceived. Does that sound safe to you? This sounds to me like the worst possible way to build superintelligence. I reject all efforts to centralize power in this way, and I reject blobby statements with no path to productive realization in policy. So, yeah, we'll come back to the definition of AGI in a second, Mike. I'll just kind of stop there. So, my feeling here is, do we need regulation? Yes, absolutely. Do we need more collaboration and less acceleration? I would be of the opinion of yes, we do. Like it doesn't feel like the way we're doing this right now is the safest way.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that Dean tweeted that I disagree with. Like how? Like all we've ever heard from Demis and Sam and others is like we need like a like the council that like controls nuclear weapons. Like we need something to that effect. Okay, who's putting that together? Like where are we right now? Like I don't feel like the superpowers of the world are currently in a place where we're going to be able to negotiate that. Like there's some other stuff that we're trying to work out together that isn't going so smoothly. So the idea of like, well, let's now get to the table and negotiate the most powerful thing ever created in human history that could imbue unspeakable capabilities and power onto those who hold it and create it first. But yeah, let's all get together and like figure that out and balance that out. Like, I don't know the answer. Like I am nowhere near smart enough to like be the one who solves how you do this. All I know is it doesn't feel like right now is the right path. I don't know that signing a statement does anything other than create awareness about the thing, which maybe, again, all it's meant to do at this point is just like get society aware and talking about this.
Yeah.
So that maybe they can then get further down the road of regulation. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that before we talk about the AGI stuff?
No, I couldn't agree more. It just, I maybe this benefits whatever goals they have, and it's certainly their right to go do that. It strikes me as like, especially with the intellectual firepower and some of the names on this letter, these are people that I think could have a real impact on like specific policy. If they came out and said, hey, deepfakes are the biggest issue facing us right now. Here's what we should do to legislate that, or something like that. I tend to think that would be much more helpful and impactful, but I'm also biased towards kind of the middle of the road realist perspective here.
It's so messy. Because you're right. Like if you took the creatives, like I know there's like actors and stuff on there. Yeah. Go focus on intellectual property and copyright.
Exactly.
Like
right.
Now, does that lead us down a path of like what we're doing right now with laws where it's like, all right, federal's not going to do it. Let's just do it as state. Now you get 1,000 different bills being progressed to like go after this thing. Yeah, and then they have religious leaders, and like, how do you solve that? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking about the legitimate questioning of like the basis of what billions of people believe. If like you can create intelligence that's determined by someone to be conscious and sentient, which is like impossible, and we really just believe like, I don't know. I mean, this is just such a big thing. We can't agree on whether it's going to take jobs away. There's still these people who like are on this side of it's not going to impact the economy. And every data point we see tells us that's not true. And
Mm.
it's like, don't look over here kind of stuff. So I don't know. I do struggle. I feel like getting back to the root of the definition thing, like they did their best to try and put a definition to it. Um, but then simultaneously, and I don't know that these were intended to be in unison, but I'm assuming since Max Tegmark's on this definition of AGI paper,
Yeah.
it was intended to sort of coincide with this statement. So what we're referring to here, and we'll put the link in the show notes as well, is literally a paper came out last week called A Definition of AGI. It has 33 authors, including Dan Hendricks of the Center for AI Safety, Max Tegmark, Future Life Institute, Eric Schmidt, former CEO and chairman of Google, Yoshua Bengio, one of kind of the godfathers of AI, along with Jeff Hinton. And so their paper, it starts off, it says the lack of a concrete definition of artificial general intelligence obscures the gap between today's specialized AI and human level cognition. This paper introduces a quantifiable framework to address this, defining AGI. So again, we're not talking superintelligence now. This is the AGI, what comes before superintelligence, as matching the cognitive versatility and proficiency of a well-educated adult. So
Mm.
that's a new one. It's like complementary to the definitions we often use. The trick here becomes, what is a well-educated adult? Like that, I don't know if I didn't see them define that as like someone who graduated from college. I don't know what that is. But the cognitive versatility and proficiency, they actually then did apply a framework, which I found rather intriguing. So outside of the AGI paper from Google DeepMind a few years ago that we often cite, where they talk about generality and performance and the levels of AGI there, this is probably the most advanced I've seen that applies a real framework. Believe in the framework or not, at least they're making an effort here. So theirs looks at 10 core cognitive domains. So they look at knowledge, reading and writing, math, reasoning, working memory, memory stage, memory retrieval, visual, auditory, and speed. And I'm not going to go into like breaking down each of those, but it's a really good quick read if you want to understand. They're in essence trying to look at like the human capabilities and the human mind and where intelligence comes from and where our ability to function and act in the physical world comes from. And they're trying to then take specifically GPT-4 and GPT-5 and say, where are they on this spectrum? And what they find is the jagged part comes from it's getting really good at math and reasoning and writing and things and knowledge pretty good, but it's not so good when it comes to like working memory and visual and auditory and speed. Like it struggles there. But they saw that the AGI scores based on their framework jumped from GPT-4 at 27% to GPT-5 at 57%.
Mm.
So 30 percentage points jump. So there's still a substantial gap before AGI, but now they're looking at it saying we are heading very quickly in this direction. Now, one key thing is they look at human level AI, not economically valuable AI, which they distinguish between, meaning it does what humans does, but it not in an economical way. They're not trying to look at can it do jobs per se. They're just looking at human cognitive abilities. And so they differentiate that as well. So I don't know. I think overall, Mike, like you asked why now, like at the start, like why is this all of a sudden the conversation, the superintelligence thing? I think because in part, the risks are becoming very real. Like we've known that there was risks if we got to this point where the AI sort of starts to just take off and be at these superhuman levels. And maybe we don't even know what it's doing when it gets to that level. Maybe at some point it just gets beyond our own cognitive ability. We have Sam Altman saying point blank, they are basically a superintelligence lab. We have Meta and Zuckerberg literally calling it a superintelligence lab. We have benchmarks that are tracking towards progress against economically valuable work. The economy's stability and growth over the last like 12 to 18 months is in large part being driven by capital expenditures for AI on the infrastructure for AI itself. If you extracted energy and data center plays from GDP, it's like, do we even have growth becomes a real question. And then international laws, like the EU AI Act, state laws are starting to progress. So all of this is now starting to happen where everyone's sort of simultaneously realizing like, oh my gosh, this is a huge deal and we have no idea how to handle any of it in education and business and the economy. So yeah, it's wild, but I like to see this stuff progressing. I don't know, zooming back into the statement itself, if it has any real meaning or plays any role in progressing, but I don't. I mean, I'm glad people are trying. Like,
Yeah.
we can't just sit back and just hope that the 3 to 5 AI labs just figure this all out on their own with no pressure from society.
I will tell you the funniest thing is if that definition of AGI benchmark where they're saying, hey, GPT-5 is at like 57%, if that kind of carries through, the funniest thing is that I'm going to have to dust off my Ray Kurzweil because his
Yeah,
prediction was AGI in 2029. He's going to
yeah,
stick the landing on, and he made that prediction 25 years ago.
yeah. And Shane Legg was back in 2000 and what 7, 8,
Yeah.
co-founder of DeepMind. His I think was 2028. Like
Yeah.
and Demis. So yeah,
It's
everybody who
incredible.
had these like extended timelines, they're looking pretty smart right now, and the scaling laws are on their side that we do get some form of AGI. And again, I've said it before, I'm not so convinced we don't already have it. It just needs to be finely tuned for specific jobs. Like
Right.
I
Right.
think the foundational models we have, when trained to do specific things, you could argue that they are the foundation of AGI already. And if we
Yeah.
shut off all future growth, it would just take someone going and like OpenAI's doing, go hire 100 bankers and like teach it to be superhuman at banking. Like that's really seems to be the only barrier. Now we might get a GPT-6, GPT-7, like an out of the box at that level in all professions, but it's
Yeah.
gonna get interesting. That's for sure.